Lore and theories in any forms of media can be a fickle topic of conversation. It could solidify a franchise loved by its die-hard fans by connecting the elements of here and now to back when, or it could have the opposite effect and begin crumbling under its own weight, adding in elements that just don't make sense nor are warranted. Either way, lore and theories intrigues you, which in turn makes you want to A. Research it and discover things about the topic for yourself, or B. Research it yourself, then share your findings and beliefs with others on YouTube, generating a interesting topic of conversation or what have you. And C, don't do any research, come up with a theory that has the least plot holes in, masses will believe it because it makes most sense. Now what if I told you, in Dark Souls 3, Anno Londo is just an illusion. It's just a big empty plot of land and the only reason it's there is so Gwendolyn can find some comfort because he misses his sister. Or what if in Dark Souls 2 the elderly handmaiden that gives you the effigy is actually our waifu Shanalot? In the future or present day, I have no idea, time is convoluted. Or in Dark Souls 1 we don't actually fight Ornstein, in fact we don't fight him in 2 either. In fact he's actually turned into a fucking dragon? Look at all this lore money! Now joking aside, did you feel that there? That peak in interest? No matter how far-fetched theories can be in Dark Souls, they all deserve some merit. Dark Souls does it slightly different than, let's say, World of Warcraft. In Warcraft, things are very structured. We know a lot about the lore because it's laid out there in front of us. In Dark Souls, it's different. We're given a character, a potential plot, and then we're told fuck you, do the rest. But why do we as a community feel as though we have to fill in the gaps? It has to be that initial attention-grabbing element that many games just can't seem to do. There's a shitload of lore in games like Fallout and Skyrim, and I've played them loads, but I just couldn't care less about the lore. There's just so much of it laid out there for me to read, and this is just down to me. I just can't be asked to go through it because I'm already not invested into it. In Dark Souls you could go through the game and not have a fucking clue what's going on, but the game's not going to be like, hey, tell me this character's origin story, and if you get it wrong, so help me God. Now admittedly I can't think of any games that halt progression if you can't remember what happened. Maybe games like Wasteland 2, but anyway. For a story arc like Dark Souls where we're forced to fill in the gaps, there needs to be a couple of things: interesting characters, interesting locations, an interesting world, and a layer of mystery. What if there was this whole Dark Souls story and people just weren't invested into it? To even bother to do the research, to connect the dots. The story would be fucked. We wouldn't have a clue what was going on. We are at the behest of these content creators who are creative enough to put out the lore content that they do. If we're interested in the Dark Souls lore, we should be kissing these guys' boots. And when I say connect the dots, here's how I envision Dark Souls theory crafting. At one end you have the theory, on the other end you have your starting point. The journey you take along the way has to find evidence to support your theory dot. Did that make sense? Please tell me that made sense. A gentleman I'd like to commend in doing this is a guy known as the Ashen Hollow. He might suck at PvP, but he's damn good at explaining the lore. Almost like he's putting his theory on trial for attempted brain fuckery, but provides pretty solid evidence as to why his theory is good, and at least substantial enough to release a 40-fucking-minute video about a topic no one has talked about for, well, at least 5 years. The dude's committed, I'll give him that. But he's a pretty cool dude and wears a Baker Black cap, so if you want cool lore theories that aren't just reading item descriptions, you should totally give him a look-see. With that said, it's not only the lore in Dark Souls which is fantastic, it's also how the community has interpreted the lore and created almost these visual novels of them which explain X, Y, and Z. No theory is a bad theory. Well, maybe the Ornstein dragon one. Really? A fucking dragon? Actually, now that I think about it, how many humans have turned into a dragon? Oh my god. To the archive!